Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of All Around Advanced. This is the second edition of playoffs. We have had quite the eventful week. 4 teams got eliminated, 4 teams remain. As we switch over scenes here, we can see the results. Honey Bacon took a 2-1 riveting set off of Gaming. I by Winrar fell to Team Solo 2-0. Cat Posse also took care of Goblin Zone 2-0. And then DR Addicts beat the Burnsiders 2-0. So, I mean, all my predictions came correct, so that's pretty cool. But regardless, we're gonna dive in for a little bit of a recap, talk about what happened, and then look ahead to the final four here. First up, I guess the less interesting one, Cat Posse versus Goblin Zone. This was covered by Fireside, but I mean, you can look at the logs here. I mean, Shining Star did 400 DPM on Viaduct, got 55 kills, almost dropped the 60 burger. Hello, Xantha. So putting in work, this map was very, at least back and forth, as Koth often tends to be between two hotly contested teams. I remember in the middle of my cast, Uni told me that there was a round where Goblin Zone had 2 players left against like 5, and because one of them was a pyro, they just air blasted people off the point, and they won that round that way. So, Goblin Zone showed some signs of life, but then, unfortunately, 502 bad gateway notwithstanding. Alright, dude, this would happen. Okay. But then they had to play map 2, and it was not close. It was very much a slaughter, as you can see here. 5-0 in about 10 minutes. And when you account for the end of round time, the dead time there, and then the rollout time, this game actually lasted less than 10 minutes. So, Cat Posse, they warmed up on Viaduct and then just brought the hammer down onto Goblin Zone on Gully Wash, and they got their revenge. They got their revenge from Sunshine Week. So, as Yum Yum or maybe it was KTB predicted, it's better to lose to them in the regular season than the postseason, and they did exactly that. So the most disgusting thing about this game, honestly, is if you look at the damage numbers, it's so insane. So like Shining Star here was literally 220 damage per minute positive. Yum Yum was 130 damage per minute positive. KTB 150. Toss 70. Kurama 50. So they they fucked him up. There's no other real description for this game. So Cat Posse as the favorite, moving on to top 4 semifinals or whatever you want to call it. Next up, we had the DR Addicts versus Portland Burnsiders. Now, this game was, again, the Portland Burnsiders were dealing with a ton of roster shenanigans. Of course, Europe getting banned again. I don't really have much to say on that besides, like, how and why and you fool. Yeah, Moomba couldn't frag Goblin Zone, more like Goblin owned. Sure, Xanda, sure. So you can see here, these were the scores specifically. I'm not risking the logs because I guess the site is buggy right now, but product went to the DR Addicts 4-1. Process was a lot more close, 5-4. But unfortunately, Burnsiders could not get the upset. They couldn't get the job done, and this was pretty much as expected. This is the process stats, as you can see here. Claps 50 and 21. Not the most damage, but who cares when you drop a 50 bomb in a playoff game? It doesn't really matter. Trying to think here. Yeah, Rikachu. They had Rikachu sub in, but Kavito I would say pretty handily outplayed him, at least on the stats here. But maybe we can peek at the Viaduct logs real quick. Oh god, this guy probably plays Pugs. Let's look at Rikachu's logs. 502 bad gateway, thank you very much. Alright, so yeah, more or less the same here. Again, lots of good numbers, lots of good stats just because it's Viaduct. But again, Claps 34 and 17, Rick 43 and 17. So they absolutely beasted. Um, yeah, Reese's stats looked good last map or on process as well, but at the end of the day, it really wasn't. I think the score, especially on process, makes it seem like it was maybe closer than it should have been. If I cared enough, I would have probably gone back and rewatched the VODs. But again, I predicted DR Addicts to win handily 2-0, and that's exactly what happened here. So the Burnsider season comes to an end, much like Goblin Zone before them. So they had a good run. And again, very commendable to make top 8 in such a stacked, crazy competitive div. But alas, your seasons are over. And the DR Addicts, the totally clean and controversy-free DR Addicts, are going to be moving on. Um, we'll talk about their matchup, their rematch versus Cat Posse later. Uh, Next up, of course, Team Solo defeating iBuy Winrar in the only upset, if you want to call it that, of the first round here. Uh, Only by, the seed difference was literally only one. The win difference between their regular season record was only one. But it is a sort of defined upset nonetheless. Process was, I guess, crazy because, as you can see right here, iBuy had a 3-0 lead in the first half. Looks like, what is this, 3 minutes plus 5. About like a 25, 26-minute first half, and it was pretty clean 3-0, but then Team Solo just turned on the Jets. They've got 4 straight rounds, 4 out of 5 mids as well, so it just, I mean, they flipped the switch at halftime, and then they fragged out. Um, like you can see, like the kills here are very, very close. It is true for pretty much both sides. It's what you could expect reasonably from a, if you want to call it a tale of two halves type of match. iBuy Winrar, all iBuy Winrar first half, all Team Solo second half. And then the second game, which I did manage to tune in on a little bit, 502. Second game was a little more slowly developing than the first one on process, but Gollywash, it seemed like every time Grape Juice made a huge play, Team Solo would retaliate with a big play of their own, and as a result, it forced their hand. They were behind for I think a majority of that game. Oh no, it was tied 2-2. So maybe I stand corrected, and or the logs are a little bit funky. But regardless, iBuy Winrar's season is over. We'll see what those players have in store for us next season, because I doubt. I shouldn't say I doubt. Well, I do doubt actually, just because it's TF2. I do doubt the team's going to be staying together, so we'll see what happens with those players. Grape Juice, Air, etc. And then the last wild card team. It was predicted that between and Um's team and Hedge's team, one of them could probably make finals, and we'll see if they've got more in the tank heading into the heading into the Honey Bacon match. And then of course the set of the week, perhaps unexpectedly so, just because again, iBuy Winrar versus Team Solo was also very good, but any series that goes to 3 maps usually has something special, and that's what we got with Gaming versus Honey Bacon Club. This was, of course, broadcast on Blanc TV. It was a true sight to behold. Lots of crazy stuff in this one. We had the map picks being flipped. Each team losing their first pick for their map. Honey Bacon losing process. Gaming losing Snakewater. Gaming brought out some heavy type shenanigans on Snakewater mids. Artis was doing crazy damage, but Dog was right with him every step of the way. And then, of course, Metalworks. There's only one word I need to say to define Metalworks, and that is the word spy, because between Scream and Hunter, both meds were in the permanent sad zone, just dying to spies over and over again, dropping Ubers. It hurt to watch, but, I mean, it is what it is. As you can see here, process. If I could describe this map in one sentence, it was the aggression from Gaming was unstoppable. They just took every fight that they wanted to do. Pauly had that BDE just running in, taking Uber trades, taking dry fights, deciding to frag whatever he so desired, and combine that with actually a surprisingly low amount of mid wins on Gaming side, only 2 out of 6 here. But again, their aggression was well rewarded, and they took again, a very surprising 5-1 victory. It probably would have been a 5-0 had it not for been one dominant mid out of Honey Bacon, where they wiped the entire team. They kept every single one of their players alive, and then they just did a textbook last push with full Uber ad and won the round in like 70 seconds. But then when we went to Snakewater, oh god, he's played Pugs. Shit. Okay, here we go. But then when we went to Snakewater, and again, Dog kept up pace with Artist the whole night, pretty much. So uh, I think gaming have shown the blueprint to at least mitigate some of the best strengths of Honey Bacon Club, which is of course if you have a really good demo that can match Artist's damage output and frags, then you have a really good shot. Because locking him up or tying him up in terms of the stat line really opens things up for everybody else on your team, and that's exactly what happened. Of course, we have to shout out Scream, whose bombs on Roamer and his off-class plays were just magical. Like, if his team had won, then pulled off the upset, he would have been a huge reason why, a huge variable as to why, because he played honestly out of his mind. Um, but yeah, Snakewater, again, some heavy shenanigans out of gaming. They tried to do the heavy to mid. It kind of worked, kind of didn't. But then ultimately, again, the aggression out of Honey Bacon Club winning the day, even getting a back cap, a cheeky little back cap, I believe, to end this map and force the map number 3. And then what a map number 3 was, because this one was a slugfest. This was two teams not wanting to go home, not wanting to give it up. Of course, Honey Bacon, the favorite, wanting to ensure their place in top 4. Gaming, of course, wanting to upset, create the story of their season, and get revenge after Villa Week. But alas, it was not meant to be. The game started out 2-2. Actually, no, excuse me, 2-0 at the half. With Gaming again very comfortable with their aggression. But then the cracks in the armor started to show a little bit. Zoomsy started dropping the spy. They would get picked off by artist traps and not clear them. So it was very much back and forth. But as I sort of alluded to many times over the season, once Honey Bacon kind of get going, they're really hard to stop. They picked off 3 rounds, back to back to back. Gaming clawed back with a round of their own, and then with like 2 minutes left, Gaming was on their last. Honey Bacon sacked 2. They didn't get anything. Gaming starts to push out, and then they lost both Dog and Polly to a trap, which cued the aggression out of them into last. They got the Uber trades off, they capped the point, and with only 60 seconds on the clock, Gaming had a desperation mid. It did not work out, and just like that, their season was over. So, hell of a run by them, but more props, suppose, go to Honey Bacon Club for securing their spot in the prize money, I guess. Or maybe a lot of people, maybe a lot of teams are going to get prize money. I don't know that. I don't know those details actually. But regardless, we have our final 4, as you can see. If I go back and I go back again. So on one side of the bracket, we will have the number 1 seed Honey Bacon Club going up against the number 5 seed Team Solo, and then the number 2 seed Cat Posse versus the number 3 seed Dior Addicts. Now, we'll talk about Cat Posse Dior Addicts first, because even though we don't have the maps decided yet, because of course, why would we? I think this one is going to be the less interesting of the two. Not just because it's Cat Posse, but also because these two teams, when they met in week 1, I mean, Cat Posse did to Dior Addicts what they did to Goblin Zone on Gully Wash last week. It was they 5-0'd them, and it really wasn't even close. So, I would say this match is gonna show us a lot more about Dior Addicts than it does about Cat Posse, because if Dior Addicts can at least get a couple rounds on the board, even let's say like my mentality, of course, does not speak for theirs. However, hello, Pop to Bob. Congratulations on your channel points during process of Honey Bacon Club versus Gaming. You farmed the economy. We love to see it. But as I was saying, this match is really more about what Dior Addicts can show, because if they can get at least a couple of rounds, even if they lose, they can say, hey, we at least showed some improvement. We got a lot better as a team. And, again, taking rounds off of Cat Posse, not a lot of teams got to do that. So, And then meanwhile on Cat Posse's end, it's just about again doing their business and cleaning up any mistakes or weaknesses they think they have in their game. But overall, again, I maps notwithstanding, I think this will be a 2-0 for Cat Posse. I think again everyone on Cat Posse is just very very sound, very very solid. So pretty much roster advantage in every aspect in at every position goes into their favor. So again, we don't know the maps here, unfortunately, but we do know that Cat Posse is the favorite, and I will continue to roll with that prediction. We'll see Cat Posse take care of business, 2-0 to them over the DR Addicts. But if DR Addicts can get some rounds, that would be pretty good. And now, of course, this will be very, very interesting here. So, Honey Bacon versus Team Solo. Just like the other match, we have no idea what the maps are going to be, but it doesn't matter. We can talk about the rosters. All right, when we talk about Honey Bacon Club, we always have to talk about artists. So we saw how Dog's performance on gaming can kind of neutralize Artist in the sense that Artist is going in 20-5, but when your demo also goes like 20-5, then that evens the playing field, and now it's up to the everybody else on the team to have good moments and step up in a big way to clutch, especially in playoff times. So Artist versus Hayes, I don't know, cause Hayes has run some lock and load shenanigans. He's done some type of cheese, uh, but I just don't think if he tries it, I don't think it's going to work very well against Honey Bacon Club. So that's that to start. However, um, even if he lags like a little bit behind, I feel like the soldiers on Team Solo are going to have a much better showing than Kutch Kutch and Hunter. Um, Now, whether or not they can actually, turn that advantage into rounds slash really good pushes will remain to be seen. But, could go either way. And then, honestly, same thing for the scouts. Was kind of as the cast on Fireside alluded to. He's just perfect. He plays perfect TF2. He does whatever the team needs. He plays around heals, around wall wrecks. He rushes forward to get picks. He falls back. He gets back caps. The man just does it all. Mr. Nene Man, the Swiss Army knife himself. So, um versus I guess Palm in this instance. That'll be interesting. Um, or excuse me, Tony is the combo scout. So Tony versus that'll be a really really good dynamic as well. Uh, and then Walrex versus Rasta Ronald. Walrex known for his soldier gameplay, but of course very very fundamentally sound player, well rounded on all the classes, can play them at a high level. And meanwhile Rasta Ronald, one of the up and comers, the young rising stars on Medic. So um, yeah, the pivotal matchup is again it has to revolve around Artist. So Artist versus Hayes, what will that matchup look like? Can Hayes keep up in the damage category, in the frags category, in the survivability category? If he can do that, then Team Solo might have another upset in the books in the waiting. But if they can't, and players like Kutch Kutch or Tony start to get rolling, then it might get ugly for Team Solo real fast. So I will give this one. If I'm gonna predict it right now, I'm gonna give this one to Honey Bacon Club. I'm gonna say another 2-1. Another what's the word? A draining, a cheeks clenched type of series here between these two teams. And thankfully, they're both happening on separate days, as you can see here, as of right now, pending any further scheduling changes. But um, whether it's going to be TFTV, Fireside, Blanc TV, that'll be out for your viewing pleasure for sure. Don't want to miss those. So those are my predictions. Those are my recaps. We'll have in my timeline, we will have Honey Bacon versus Cat Posse in Advanced Grand Finals. The number one versus the number two, the two clear favorites all throughout the season. Leading the cavalry in to this final clash here, the best of five. And then for Constellation Finals, we'll have Team Solo versus DR Addicts. That would also be interesting just because I believe DR Addicts wiped the floor with Team Solo when they met in the regular season. Let's see. Okay, never mind. They did not. It was a 5-4 on Sunshine, so that would also be a very very compelling game. So honestly, if nothing else, I think that the way that my predictions shake up will give the best of both worlds. It'll make grand finals be very very exciting and back and forth, and it'll also make the third place decider very much of the same. Um, I don't really see that happening if it's like, for example, if it's Cat Posse versus Team Solo, or if it's Honey Bacon versus Dior Addicts for the third place game, or Grands for that matter. So um, that is pretty much it. We recapped round one. We were looking ahead to semifinals, and then of course, further ahead onto grand finals week and consolation finals week. Uh, no casting criteria or casting schedule is set in stone just yet. I know I'll definitely be trying to get my hands on one of these advanced games, whether just either on Blanc TV or as a caster. But it should be good, should be interesting for sure. Um, and then looking ahead, of course, grand finals on Advance will be brought to you at TFTV with me and Unicorn Wizard. Definitely don't want to miss that because, again, I mean, Advanced has not disappointed since week one, and not a lot of the other divs can say the same. So you'll love to see the great gameplay. You'll love to see the great gameplay continue, and that's pretty much going to be it from me today. So, as you can tell, because I've been solo holding down the fort here with the background reaction noises from my sister, but you can see that I was alone. So my plan for getting the guests in is for finals week. I'll take at least one representative from each team, get them into Mumble with me, and we'll have a three-person, carousel like a radio show. And we'll talk. We'll have some banter. We'll have some discussion, some back and forth. Maybe I'll drum up a little couple of entertainment type games. We can get them involved in, so the chat can also participate. But that will have to be for next week, of course. And that will wrap things up for All Around Advanced episode number 10 here. I can't believe it. All season long, it's been a blast covering this division. Just talking TF2. It's very, very exciting. It always is. So the plan will be, of course, to have guests on episode 11, Grand Finals preview. And then we'll have I'm going to try to see if Jamon can join us for episode number 12, which will be the recap, the full season recap. We're going to talk about every team, maybe not every player, but most players on every team, and just close things out, write the final chapter in the Season 5 Advanced book. So, thanks for listening, thanks for watching. Appreciated the support throughout the week on all the casts as well. The follows, the subs, the cheers, the posture checks, the hydrates, drink waters. I realize that I'm getting closer and closer to 500 followers, which means that 24-hour stream, whether I like it or not, it's gonna be a thing that'll happen soon. Much to my potential fear, but I've never lied, so if I ever hit that benchmark, we'll absolutely be doing it. And yeah, there we go. A nice, clean, concise stream, just hitting the 30-minute mark of my going live. And that'll put a nice little ribbon on the end of things for today. So I was, of course, Terry. This was All Around Advanced, episode number 10, the final four. Good luck to all of these teams: Honey Bacon Club, Team Solo, Cat Posse, DR Addicts. Show us what you got. May the best team win. Good luck, have fun, and we'll see who is still standing for grand finals after Thursday. Have a good night, everybody.